This is How to Teach Social Studies, Washington's Diplomatic Dilemma with France. So here's the metaphor you're going to do with your students. If someone helped you out in a pinch in the past, what factors would you need to consider to figure out whether you would help them in their time of need? Develop the biggest list you can. Background and review. It's important to remember to tell your students that France's aid was really the primary reason why the United States won the American Revolution. Yes, there were all sorts of heroics from the American soldiers and from George Washington. Remember, you can't fight without guns, and not all the good generals, for example, came from France as well. So pretty much everything we needed to win, large portions of it came from France. And in return, the United States made an alliance or promise to France to help protect their land in the West Indies, which you can remind their students if they've ever gone on a cruise, if they went to the Caribbean, this is where they went. At this point, I would show them a simple map of where the Caribbean is. All right, so a little background on the French Revolution for your students. Remember to tell them that the citizens overthrew their king. They declared a world revolution for democracy against kings. Explained, as I'm sure you're aware, that the French people were completely impoverished because the French king spent so lavishly on kind of needless extravagances like giant palaces and things like that. So they not only declared a revolution against their king, but also a world revolution for democracy against all kingdoms. And in response, European kingdoms like England, Spain, and others declared war on France. It's basically France is now fighting a war, an internal war and an external war at the same time. Ouch. All right, so what we're going to be doing today with your students is going to have a classic social studies situation is a dilemma. Should we help France protect their islands in the West Indies or not? For each argument, you're going to have your students debate how persuasive is this point. For example, their answer stems could be this point is not at all persuasive, a little, somewhat, very, or completely. You could also just do a scale of 1 to 10. However you want to do it will work. Always important, absolutely critical to score your students to make sure you put their names on the board as they participate so they know they're getting credit for their oral participation and feedback. And again, our dilemma: should we help France protect their islands in the West Indies from countries like England and Spain? We promised that we would. Now let's make a decision. All right, so first, our side we're going to do is yes, we should help France. And the first argument for the students to consider how persuasive it's going to be is it's a moral obligation. And what we mean by that is, obviously France helped us out in our time of need. We basically owe our country to them. They gave us soldiers and money and generals to help fight the American Revolution. It can be very easily argued that without France's help, we wouldn't even be our own country. We'd still be a part of England. And we owe them for helping us. And lastly, in addition to all that, we promised. We signed a legally binding treaty, and it would be wrong not to follow it. So for this point, I'd like your students, to debate how persuasive is this argument that our moral obligation means yes, we should help France. Is that not at all persuasive, a little, somewhat, a lot, or completely persuasive that we should help France? Just this argument right here, our moral obligation. All right, our second argument, yes, we should help France. France is an important ally to keep for the United States in the future. England, Native American tribes, and other European countries could still attack us again, and we need France for future defense as an ally. Critical to tell your students, time and place. Remember that the United States at the time is a very, very weak country. We're a very upstart country. We do not have a lot of money. We have an incredibly tiny navy, as we're going to get into in a minute. Incredibly tiny army, and we need all the help we can. So if we're going to survive as a country, we need powerful allies. Obviously, we're not going to have England as an ally. We just overthrew their rule. We need France to stay in our corner. If we don't live up to our promises, they're going to not be our ally anymore. If we get attacked again, then we're sunk. So how persuasive is that point? Debate that with your students. And the final argument for yes, help France, is to develop and keep our reputation in the world. Remember, the United States is a brand new country. And if we break our first treaty, it's arguable that no one will trust us in the future and we'll lose potential allies. Diplomacy is in large measure about keeping your word. If you're breaking your word all the time, then no one will trust us in the future, and our diplomatic efforts in the future may fail. So debate that. How persuasive is that argument, and why? All right, those were the three yes arguments. Let's go back. First, our moral obligation. Two, France is an important ally to keep for the future. And third, you got to keep your reputation in the world if you're a new, particularly if you're a new country. So, just review with your students how persuasive were the yes arguments. If you were in the shoes of being in Washington's cabinet, Washington asked you for help, and he said these three arguments. How, as a whole, collective, kind of as an average, how persuasive are the yes arguments? All right, let's go into the no's. We have three arguments for no as well. No, don't help France. First argument is a pragmatic one. How can we help? Remember that the United States at the time has only 6 ships in its entire navy. And in order to protect the French West Indies, we would have to build a navy, and this would be very, very expensive and perhaps impossible. It's not yet clear that we can even, tax our citizens to raise that kind of money. It's not clear the citizens have that kind of money, and or were willing to spend the money even if they did. And so, how can we even help in the first place? And second of all, if we do build a navy, the British Navy, remember, is the best in the world, and we could easily lose. Remember, in the American Revolution, we tended to stay away from the British Navy, where naval conflicts were concerned. Americans frequently lost those battles, and one of the ways we won the American Revolution is by staying away from the British Navy. Now we'd be taking them head on near islands in the middle of the ocean, so that's a whole different ball game. That's not a land battles where in the American Revolution where we're running away a lot, where we're engaging in guerrilla warfare. This is in the open sea. So how could we help? All right, how persuasive do your students find this argument? A little persuasive, not at all, somewhat, a lot, or completely? All right, the second argument, no, don't help France. France only helped us because they hated England. All right, so yeah, France did us all these solids and all these favors. Yeah, but did they really? Let's get into that for a second. While a few French generals like Lafayette truly loved the American cause of freedom, France, let's be honest, mostly helped the United States, or what would become the United States, you could say the colonies, because it gave them the chance to hurt our mutual enemy. France and England's rivalry existed for hundreds of years before the colonies ever started having conflicts with England. They didn't help us because, out of the graciousness of their hearts, a lot of that was their own self-interest. So we can do what's in our self-interest now. All right, how persuasive is that argument? And lastly, number three, kind of a realistic argument. We don't have to. A lot of diplomacy comes down to what do you have to do, what do you not have to do. It's basically this argument saying, make me. All right, France is being attacked by pretty much every power in Europe that has a monarchy, and if we do nothing, France is in no position to attack us or get revenge. People break their promises all the time in diplomacy. Let's be honest. We have treaties that we break all the time. It all comes down to basically, do we have to or do we not? And frankly, what is France going to do? They're in absolutely no position while they're fighting a revolution at home and a world war to get revenge on us. So we got something. We got our independence from them, and we don't have to give anything back. That's what's in the best interests of our country. So sorry, not going to help you. All right, how persuasive do your students find that argument? Of course, as always, again, make sure that they are listening to each other, that you're scoring each other, and make sure that, as I always do, that their oral participation grades for these debates get included into their total grade for the following assignment. All right, the student's assignment, or yesterday, you could say today. I often do this in a 2-day thing. You learned about the dilemma the United States had regarding whether or not to help France. First, explain the United States' diplomatic dilemma with France and the history behind this problem. All right. 2, explain the potential benefits and good things about either helping France, or both helping France and not helping France. All right. You have the students use their textbook, do a little bit more research. Don't just, repeat the notes here. Explain the benefits or what's good about A, helping France, and B, not helping France. And then most importantly, What would be your advice to Mr. Washington? If you were in Mr. Washington's cabinet, would you tell him to help protect the French West Indies against England and Spain, or would you say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you"? And then third, research what President Washington actually did and explain what Washington did and whether historians tend to believe he did the right thing or not and why.